and they don't know what ACV is, and you're just like, is it replacement cost, ACV?
If you're in an actual cash value policy, they're going to deteriorate any kind of claim payout based on the age, whether it's the roof, the age of the home.
There's flood policies, you need to make sure you cover all your personal property.
Some will increase that cost higher than what your loan is or what you may even think the value is, but that's what the insurance company believes would be your total loss. Oh yeah.
Today we're here with, go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Michael Ashdown with Goosehead Insurance. We are a independent agency, meaning that we broker through several carrier options. So it allows our insureds to have the power of choice and to find the right carrier that fits their specific needs.
Okay. So let's get into it. If someone is, looking to buy a house for the first time, maybe not the first time, maybe they didn't understand what they were getting the last time, but let's say they're looking at insurance and I send them to you and you explain to them, what is home insurance basically? What is a standard policy that they would be looking for?
Standard policy is kind of a vague term when it comes to insurance. I mean, there's multiple policy forms, starting with an HOA, which is as basic as you can get, covering only about 6 to 8 perils. We prefer to write an open peril policy form, which is an HO3, and that covers 16 covered perils with the addition of water endorsements available. So it's a very well-rounded policy. When you're buying a home, that's going to be one of the boxes to check off your list with your mortgage lender, because you're going to be required to carry homeowners insurance to protect the insurable interest they have in that property. And so it's one of the things you want to kind of start early and looking at, especially if it's something more rural or an older home, because the rates could really, make or break a mortgage deal in that process. So it's always good to start on that early.
Well, that's the thing. We could go down so many rabbit holes of, like you said, rural, the protection classes, how close to the fire department. We can go into so many rabbit holes, but let's basically hit the high point of, you hear, some people are like, well, I got a cheaper quote over here. And then you come to find out they said it's ACV, and they don't know what ACV is. And you're just like, well, is it replacement cost, ACV? What's the difference between the two and which one's better?
Replacement cost is definitely going to be better. If you're in an actual cash value policy, they're going to deteriorate any kind of claim payout based on the age, whether it's the roof, the age of the home, or even your contents, because that will be included in your policy as well. And most mortgage underwriters are going to want to see replacement costs on the property and the roof. So that's very important to pay attention to.
Okay. Once we get that taken care of to where we got the right policy, we're doing replacement cost, you may ask them, hey, what kind of deductible do you want? Or basically explain what the deductible is and what is the industry going to right now?
So the deductible is in reference to your out-of-pocket expense in the event of a claim.
Okay.
Most of the time, it's a percentage of the total dwelling.
Okay.
For example, if it's a $300,000 home and you have a 1% deductible, in the event of a covered claim, your out-of-pocket expense would be $3,000. We always advise maintaining the lowest deductible available, but if you do increase the deductible, it will lower that premium, but you have to keep in mind what your out-of-pocket expense will be in the event of a claim.
Now, is the industry still hovering around the 1%, or that you see them moving to the 2%?
Pertaining to wind hail, specifically wind hail damage to your roof, is the main claim that we see here in Texas. A lot of the carriers are moving to a 2% minimum, or some even 3%. And along with that, historically, they would cover replacement costs on roofs up to 15 years. That's starting to get, lesser and lesser. Some are going down to 12, some to 10. So it's something to really pay attention to and to talk to your agent about purchasing a policy.
Well, then that goes into, I guess you might say, the area of how much insurance does someone need? I mean, I know there's other caveats of there's flood policies, there's, you need to make sure you cover all your personal property. How much insurance, when you talk to people, how much insurance do you think they need? Just enough to cover the mortgage or the replacement cost?
Most carriers have what is called a reconstruction estimation tool.
Okay.
So based on the features of the property that you're purchasing, square footage, exterior construction type, slab, they'll run all those through their system and they'll spit out a number that has to be equal to or greater than in order to get that replacement cost covered. So it does vary from carrier to carrier. Some will increase that cost higher than what your loan is or what you may even think the value is, but that's what the insurance company believes would be your total loss. And so that's how that's determined. And if you are working with the mortgage lender, they are going to want to see replacement costs. And so really the carrier would kind of determine what the property would be valued at. And then most commonly for like personal property and your contents, the industry standard is 50% of your dwelling.
Okay.
So if you have a $400,000 house, they're going to provide $200,000 in contents coverage.
Okay. Now, is there any additional coverage that you recommend for someone to get? I mean, when you're talking with, you go more in depth of, hey, what kind of jewelry do you have? Artwork do you have? Do you need personal floaters, which is another, type of, coverage?
Absolutely. So when it comes to high value items, there are going to be set sublimits within the policy itself, usually capping around $1,500 to $2,000. Jewelry, furs, watches, etc. So I do always ask that question: is there anything above value? I would say, more than $2,000 per item,
right,
that you would like to see coverage on. But we always like to put that on a specialized policy, actually, instead of with the homeowner's insurance, just because that pulls the risk away from the homeowner's policy. If something does happen to one of those valuable pieces, it's not showing as a claim on your homeowner's insurance.
That's smart. A smart way of doing that. So you kind of, separate the two, but you're not, putting one in jeopardy for the other. I'm sure y'all do investor insurance for, because the policies are totally different for someone who has investment property or commercial property, or pretty much can run the gamut of those. You still have the ability to cover those policies as well, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if it's not an owner occupied home and it is a rental property or an investment property, it's a different policy form called a dwelling policy form. And what you're protecting in that scenario is the property and your liability exposure having tenants. So that's going to just cover the property and your liability with some additional coverages like water backup or vandalism, mischief, things like that. But the contents would have to be covered by the tenant themselves.
Okay. And that includes some loss of rent. So in case it's down being repaired, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is just a quick little introduction. It shows that an independent agent does have a lot more capabilities to cover a lot more different things and have a lot more companies to pull from. So I appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you, Chris.
All right. Thank you, Michael.